Okay, so you are not gonna believe what happened. Seriously, grab a drink, because this is going to take a while. My name's Kayla, and I'm 28, and honestly, sometimes I wonder if the universe just has it out for me, you know? It all started, like most of my problems, with money. Not that I was broke, I had my own savings, obviously. But living with Mark, my boyfriend at the time, was like a constant drain. He was a sweet guy, too sweet, really. Always saying yes, always trying to make me happy. We'd been together for 3 years, lived together for 2, and honestly, I was just so over his Mr. Growth mindset thing. Always talking about therapy and boundaries. Like, chill, dude, we're just living life. Anyway, he was supposed to be the provider because he made more, but somehow, my money always ended up covering groceries or little things he'd forget about. Like, I'd pay for dinner, and he'd be all, oh, I'll get the next one, and then the next one would never come. It was fine, whatever. But it added up. My job, it was just a job. Nothing fancy. I worked at an office, you know, doing office stuff. My boss, Mr. Henderson, was this older guy, always pretty quiet. He had this dog, a big fluffy golden retriever named Buster. Buster was his whole life, it seemed. Mr. Henderson would bring Buster to the office sometimes, especially if he was working late. The dog was okay, I guess. A bit too friendly, always trying to nudge your hand for pets. One Tuesday, I was looking at Facebook, just scrolling, and I saw a post from Mr. Henderson. It was about Buster. He was going on about how Buster had gotten out of the yard that morning, how he was offering a reward for his safe return. $1,000. $1,000. My jaw practically dropped. $1,000. That was like rent money. Or a new pair of boots I'd been eyeing. Mark was always on my case about spending too much, but what did he know? He was just too busy setting boundaries with his friends or whatever. I mean, between us, I knew he was hanging out with that new girl from his book club way too much. I kept asking him about it, casually, like, oh, who's at book club tonight? And he'd get all defensive, just the usual crew, why? It was fine, I was just curious, you know? But he'd make me feel like I was crazy for even asking. So, this $1,000. It just kind of lodged itself in my brain. I was thinking about it all day, while I was filing papers, while I was getting coffee. Buster. $1,000. It just kept swirling. That night, after Mark was asleep, he always conked out so early, such a snooze fest, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was in bed, scrolling through my phone, and then it hit me. Like a total lightning bolt. What if I found Buster? I know. You're probably thinking, Kayla, no. But hear me out. Mr. Henderson had been so stressed out about Buster. He was almost crying at work, like, the poor guy. I would be helping him, really. Plus, $1,000. It was a win-win, right? He gets his dog back, I get some much-needed cash. The next morning, I woke up with this plan fully formed in my head. Mark was already up, making his disgusting protein shake. He was always so judgy about my breakfast, like, are you sure you want that donut, babe? Maybe some fruit? Ugh. I just smiled sweetly and said, good morning, honey. You gotta play the part, right? I got to work, and Mr. Henderson was still looking distraught. He'd put up more flyers, he was calling every shelter in Dallas. I felt a tiny pang of something, like, guilt maybe? But it was so tiny, it barely registered. My opportunity came that afternoon. Mr. Henderson had left the office to go check out some lead, leaving Buster's leash and his favorite squeaky toy on his desk. He was so desperate, he probably just forgot them. This was it. My heart was pounding, but also, it was this exhilarating feeling, like I was in a movie or something. I waited until everyone else was in a meeting. My coworker, Sarah, was always so nosy. Always trying to one-up everyone, like, oh, I finished that report already. Between us, I called her Miss Perfect in my head. She was always so sickeningly sweet to Mr. Henderson, trying to get on his good side. I swear she was just trying to steal my thunder. So, everyone was gone. The office was quiet. I grabbed the leash and the toy. I knew Mr. Henderson's house wasn't too far from the office, maybe a 15-minute walk. His backyard was pretty big, and I remembered seeing a gate that looked a little rickety. A perfect escape route for a dog, right? I went out the back door, acting all casual. I knew Buster was probably still wandering around the neighborhood. I walked toward Mr. Henderson's house, looking around, trying to seem like I was just taking a stroll. My hands were shaking a little, but I was also buzzing with excitement. And then I saw him. Buster. He was sniffing around a tree a few blocks from Mr. Henderson's house. My heart leaped. This was going to be so easy. I called his name, Buster. Good boy. He looked up, his tail wagging, and started trotting towards me. He was so dumb, just a happy-go-lucky dog. I snapped the leash on him, gave him a quick scratch behind the ears, and then started walking him back towards the office, but a little out of the way, so it looked like I'd found him far from his actual home. I called Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson. You are not going to believe this. I just found Buster. I tried to sound surprised, a little breathless. Like I was a hero. He was ecstatic. Kayla, oh my goodness. Where are you? Where did you find him? I'm just a few blocks from the office, near that big park. He was just wandering, looked a little lost. I said, trying to make it sound believable. He was there in 5 minutes, practically tripping over himself. Buster was jumping all over him, wagging his tail like crazy. Mr. Henderson was so relieved, his eyes were a little watery. Kayla, I don't know how to thank you. You saved him. Oh, it was nothing, Mr. Henderson. I'm just so glad he's safe. I smiled my sweetest smile. He pulled out his wallet. Here, $1,000, just like I promised. You're a lifesaver. He handed me a crisp stack of $100 bills. It felt so good in my hand, so real. This was it. My plan had worked. I went home that night feeling like a genius. I stashed the money in my secret shoebox under my bed. Mark was cooking dinner, something healthy and boring, probably lentils. How was your day, babe? He asked, all cheerful. Oh, just work stuff, I said, trying to sound nonchalant. But guess what? Mr. Henderson's dog, Buster, was found today. Oh, that's great. Mark said, genuinely happy. He was such a good guy, honestly. Too good for his own good. He just didn't understand how the world really worked. He was so focused on being a good person and living ethically that he missed out on so much. I mean, who cares about ethics when you've got bills to pay? The next few days were great. I felt lighter, like a huge weight had been lifted. I finally bought those boots I wanted, and a new handbag. Mark gave me a look. Another bag, babe? Don't you have 5 already? Oh, this one's completely different, honey. It's for work, I said, batting my eyelashes. He just sighed. He was always doing that, sighing. It was so annoying. Just say what you mean, dude. Don't be so passive-aggressive. Things were going great. Until Saturday. Mark and I were having breakfast, and he was scrolling on his phone. He usually wasn't big on social media, just Facebook for family stuff. But then he stopped, and his face got this weird look. Kind of pale, like he'd seen a ghost. Hey, what's wrong? I asked, pretending to be concerned. He turned the phone to me. It was a post from Mr. Henderson. A new one. It said something like, just a strange update. We found Buster, which is wonderful, but the vet found something interesting. A small bite mark on his ear, looks like it might have happened very recently. And a small piece of fabric, like from a shirt, caught in his fur. Anyone seen anything odd? My stomach dropped. A bite mark? Fabric? Oh, no. When I had found Buster, he had been a little rambunctious, nudging me and trying to jump. And yeah, he'd nipped my ear a little, just playfully. And my shirt. I was wearing that old faded band t-shirt that day, the one with the weird hole near the shoulder. No, no, no. This couldn't be happening. Mark was looking at me, his eyes narrowing. Kayla, weren't you wearing that old band shirt on Tuesday? My mind raced. What? No. I mean, maybe? I don't know, I wear so many old t-shirts. Why? I tried to sound innocent, confused. And you were the one who found Buster, right? He pressed. Yeah, I was. So what? I felt my cheeks getting hot. He was always so good at making me feel like I was on trial. It just seems odd, Kayla. A bite mark, fabric, and you found him so close to the office, when he'd been missing for hours, and Mr. Henderson lives so far away from there. Are you accusing me of something, Mark? I asked, my voice rising, my eyes starting to well up. That always worked. Weaponized vulnerability, baby. He hated it when I cried. No, no, babe, of course not, he said, his voice softening immediately. He always fell for it. It's just a coincidence, I guess. A coincidence? Mark, you're making it sound like I stole his dog. I sniffled, dabbing at my eyes. I didn't say that, Kayla. Just calm down. He looked uncomfortable, like he wanted to just disappear. Good. I continued to act upset, pushing away my plate. I can't believe you would even think something like that about me. After everything we'd been through. I brought up the time he forgot my birthday last year. Always a good one to pull out of the hat. He started apologizing, babe, I'm sorry, I really am. I didn't mean to upset you. He leaned over to hug me, but I pulled away. He was so easy to manipulate. It was almost boring. But even though I had him back on the defensive, a seed of panic had been planted. Mr. Henderson was probably going to connect the dots. The vet. The bite mark. The fabric. He'd probably trace it back to me. What was I going to do? I spent the next few days in a constant state of anxiety. Every time my phone rang, I jumped. Every email notification made my heart pound. I was convinced Mr. Henderson was going to call me into his office and confront me. Sarah, Miss Perfect, was giving me weird looks at work. I swear she knew something. She was probably gossiping about me to everyone. That bitch. One afternoon, Mr. Henderson called me into his office. My stomach lurched. This was it. My career was over. My life was over. I was going to jail. All for a measly $1,000. I walked in, trying to look composed, like I didn't have a care in the world. He was sitting at his desk, Buster curled up at his feet. Buster looked up at me, wagging his tail. He really was a dumb dog. Kayla, have a seat, Mr. Henderson said, his voice calm, but something was off. He wasn't smiling. I sat down, my hands clasped in my lap, trying to look innocent. Kayla, he started, I want to thank you again for finding Buster. It means the world to me. Oh, of course, Mr. Henderson, I said, trying to sound sweet. I was just so happy to help. He nodded, then paused. However, I did get a call from the vet. About that bite mark on Buster's ear. He said it was a fresh bite, and it looked like a human tooth mark. And the small piece of fabric he found, it was from a t-shirt. My heart was beating so fast, I thought it was going to explode out of my chest. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. He continued, his voice still calm, but with an edge now. And then, I started thinking. You found Buster so quickly, so far from my house, when he'd been missing for hours. And you happened to be wearing that very distinct band t-shirt that day, the one with the hole near the shoulder. The one the vet described, by the way. My face felt hot. My mind was racing, trying to come up with an excuse. I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Henderson. I just found him. He must have gotten bitten by something else. And the shirt, that's just a coincidence. He leaned forward, his voice a little lower now. Kayla, I've been trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. But I also remembered something else. That morning, I left Buster's leash and his favorite toy on my desk when I went to check that lead. When I came back, they were gone. And you were the only one here. My mind went completely blank. I had no answer. He had me. He had me cold. I'm not going to call the police, Kayla, he said, and I almost collapsed with relief. But I can't have someone like you working for me. You're fired. Effective immediately. Fired. Just like that. All for a stupid dog and $1,000. My throat felt tight. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I just sat there, numb. And Kayla, he added, his voice chillingly calm, I expect that reward money back by the end of the week. Or I will file a report with the police for theft. The theft of his own dog. The audacity. I wanted to yell at him, tell him he was being unfair. But I knew it was useless. I was caught. I stumbled out of his office, grabbed my bag, and walked out of the building. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe this was happening. I was fired. My career was over. And I had to give back the money. This was all Mark's fault. If he hadn't been so cheap, I wouldn't have needed the money in the first place. Or Mr. Henderson's fault for being so desperate for his stupid dog. I called Mark. I got fired. I sobbed into the phone. What? Why? What happened? He asked, sounding genuinely concerned. Mr. Henderson is crazy. He thinks I stole Buster. Can you believe it? He accused me of taking his dog and then finding him for the reward money. It's ridiculous. I kept sobbing, laying it on thick. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, Mark said, slowly, Kayla, did you? Mark. How could you even ask me that? After everything I told you? I shrieked, making sure to sound completely outraged. I don't know, Kayla. It makes sense, doesn't it? The bite mark, the shirt, finding him so far away when he usually doesn't wander that far. You're just like him. I yelled. You're accusing me. You're supposed to be on my side. Kayla, I can't be on your side when you're doing something like this, he said, his voice flat. This is messed up. This is a messed up thing to do. Oh, so now I'm messed up? Are you really going to believe some old man over me? I was crying real tears now. Not because I was sad, but because I was so angry. So utterly furious. Kayla, I think we need to talk. His voice was so cold. Talk about what? About how you're judging me and ruining my life? I snapped. No, Kayla. About us. About everything. And that was it. We talked, or rather, he talked, and I yelled, and he stayed calm, and I got more and more furious. He said he couldn't be with someone who was so deceptive and who lacked accountability. He used those exact words, can you believe it? Like he was my therapist or something. He said he was tired of my emotional manipulation and my selective memory. He actually used those terms. He said I was always moving the goalposts and making him feel like he was never good enough. I just stared at him. He was actually breaking up with me. For what? For trying to get a little extra cash? For a dog? Fine. I screamed. Fine, Mark. Go. I don't care. I don't need you. I never needed you. He packed a few things, his dumb therapy books, his weird protein powders. He didn't even look at me. He just walked out the door. And that was it. 3 years, just gone. All because of a stupid dog. So, there I was. Fired. Dumped. And I had to give back the money. I had spent half of it already. I had to scramble, selling some of my new clothes, pawning my grandmother's old necklace. It was humiliating. I barely scraped together the $1,000 by Friday, and I mailed it to Mr. Henderson in a plain envelope, no return address. I wanted him to know I was still mad. I tried to get a new job, but it was impossible. Mr. Henderson had obviously called around, or word just got out. Every interview I went on, they would ask about my previous employment, and when I mentioned Mr. Henderson's office, they would get this weird look in their eyes. It was like I was blacklisted. My friends. Well, some of them tried to be supportive, but then when I told them the whole story, about how Mark had dumped me and how Mr. Henderson was a psycho, they just got quiet. Some of them even started pulling away. One of my closest friends, Lisa, she actually said, "Kayla, maybe you should think about what you did." Think about what I did? Seriously? It was like everyone was ganging up on me. Between us, I thought she was just jealous of my old life with Mark. She always wanted what I had. I started seeing Mark's Facebook posts. He was suddenly traveling, going to concerts, always smiling. And then, the ultimate slap in the face. He posted a picture. With a new girl. A genuinely nice girl, from his book club, probably. She was smiling, and he was smiling, and they looked so happy. Like, genuinely happy. It was disgusting. He was moving on, and I was stuck. I had to move out of the apartment because I couldn't afford the rent on my own. I ended up back in my tiny childhood bedroom at my parents' house. It was a nightmare. My mom was always asking about my job, about Mark. "Kayla, why don't you ever call Mark anymore?" she'd ask. He was such a nice young man. I just ignored her. My life was a mess. I had no job, no boyfriend, and my friends were slowly disappearing. I tried to apply for jobs online, but I kept getting rejected. It was like I was invisible. I'd achieved my selfish goals, I'd gotten the money, I'd gotten rid of Mark, who was always holding me back with his boundaries and ethics. But now I was just alone. And it was all their fault. Mark's fault for being so judgmental. Mr. Henderson's fault for being so paranoid about his stupid dog. Sarah's fault for being such a busybody. And my friend's fault for not being on my side. Sometimes, late at night, I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling in my old room. I'd replay everything. The plan, the $1,000, Buster, the bite. And then Mark's face, pale and disappointed. And Mr. Henderson's calm, cutting words. But even then, I never regretted what I did. I just regretted how it all turned out. I mean, who would have thought a dog could cause so much trouble? It wasn't my fault. It was everyone else's. And honestly, I don't care anymore. Let them have their perfect lives. I'm fine. I'm totally fine.